I was shocked when I was told I had lung cancer. I was sent by my doctor, Brendan O'Brien, to have my lungs x-rayed. Sure, I had started smoking in my 20s, and I grew to like a drop of whiskey. The x-ray revealed a shadow on my left lung, possibly TB, or possibly a carcinoma. An appointment was made for me to go to the Rialto Hospital. The first glance at the test results indicated that I had a problem with the left lung, possibly a tumour, but the full result would not be known till the weekend. I had to go immediately to the hospital for further observation and tests. My brother Peter drove me to the Rialto Hospital, and I was given a bed in ward number 4. Later, I had my left lung removed successfully. The hospital. A year ago, I fell in love with the functional ward of a chest hospital. Square cubicles in a row, plain concrete, an art lover's woe, not counting how the fella in the other bed smoked. But nothing is by love debarred, the common and banal are heat shall know. A corridor led to a stairway, and below was the inexhaustible adventure of a gravelled yard. This is what love does to things. The Rialto Bridge, the main gate that was bent by a heavy lorry, the seat at the back of a shed that was a sun trap. Naming these things is the Love Act and its pledge. We must record love's mystery without claptrap, snatch out of time the passionate transitory. That summer of 1955 was warm and sunny. July was one of the hottest on records. Temperatures were reaching up to 80 degrees. And like hundreds of my fellow citizens, I spent the afternoons lying on the grass in St. Stephen's Green. My favourite spot was near the Grafton Street entrance, where I could observe the clock on Robert's Cafe. And when 4 o'clock came, off I went for my daily coffee. But it was on the banks of the Grand Canal that I wrote the following poem. Canal Bank Walk. Leafy with love banks and the green waters of the canal pouring redemption for me, that I do the will of God, wallow in the habitual, the banal, grow with nature as before I grew. The bright stick trapped, the breeze, adding a third party to the couple kissing on an old seat. And a bird gathering materials for the nest, for the word eloquently new and abandoned to its delirious beat. O unworn world, enrapture me, encapture me in a web of fabulous grass and eternal voices by a beach. Feed the gaping needs of my senses. Give me ad lib to pray unself-consciously with overflowing speech. For this soul needs to be honoured with a new dress woven from green and blue things and arguments that cannot be probed. Now that poem is full of rural images. The companion poem I wrote, by contrast, evokes death and the hereafter. Subjects that came to my mind during that long illness. Lines written on a seat on the Grand Canal, Dublin. Oh, commemorate me where there is water, canal water preferably, so stilly, greeny at the heart of summer. Brother, commemorate me thus beautifully, where by a loch Niagara's roars, the falls for those who sit in the tremendous silence of mid-July. No one will speak in prose who finds his way to these Parnassian islands. A swan goes by, head low, with many apologies. Fantastic light looks through the eyes of bridges. And look, a barge comes bringing from Athy and other far-flung towns mythologies. Oh, commemorate me with no hero courageous tomb, just a canal bank seat or the passerby. At the end of February 1958, I was invited to go down to Kilkenny to give a talk in the local tech. I was met by my host in the Metropole, Frank McAvoy, and with my good friend Leo Holohan, they walked me up to the tech along the high street, and I muttered the whole way up, "This is a terrible place altogether." Sure, once I got to the school, I was introduced by the local chairman, and I started my talk. I gave my opinions on O'Casey, Yeats, Joyce, my own illness, and of course, my poetic rebirth. When this imperious woman in Foxfurs got up and said, "Why do you find Kilkenny so terrible?" She didn't intimidate me a little bit. I said, "Do not interrupt the lecturer. 'Tis bad manners to interrupt the lecturer." Later on, back in the Metropole, I was told that nobody had ever dared to tell Lady Bellew to shut up. When I began to read my poetry, the audience became quiet and still, spellbound by the quality of my poems. Inniskeen Road, July evening. The bicycles go by in twos and threes. There's a dance in Billy Brennan's barn tonight. And there's the half-talk code of mysteries, the wink and elbow language of delight. 8:30, there's not a spot upon a mile of road, no shadow thrown, that might turn out a man or woman, not a footfall, tapping secrecies of stone. I have what every poet hates, despite all the solemn talk of contemplation. O Alexander Selkirk knew the plight of being king and government and nation. A road, a mile of kingdom, and I am king of banks and stones and every blooming thing. He knew that posterity had no use for anything but the soul, the lines that speak the passionate heart, the spirit that lives alone. Oh, he was a lone one, fal dal da do. He was a lone one, I tell you. Yet he lived happily. And now it's October over all my life. But the man shouldn't be afraid to tell the truth, even if it's in his own fame. As I said earlier, I dislike talking about myself in a direct way. The self is only interesting as an illustration. Patrick Kavanagh, poet, farmer, novelist, journalist, lover, died on the 30th of November 1967. His final words were, "O God, I believe." He walks now in the light of the sun that has no setting. Thank you all for coming out on such a bad night. give you another half an hour now, yeah.
Not tonight, before I forget my manners, I want to say at the beginning, and trying to get this man organised and getting him on is important too. I'd like to thank the staff in Loughboy Library here for the last couple of months who have put up with me and talking about this performance tonight. Mary, Nuala, Paul, Katrina, and all the staff that I've met in the last couple of months, plus all the staff in Castlecomer and in John's Quay, who've been tremendous help to the two of us in putting and facilitating us here. Also, I'd like to thank Jimmy's wife Judy for allowing us to use the image that she painted off Patrick Kavanagh for our poster, which we used for publicity purposes, and Radio Kilkenny Community Radio for their help in helping us, and particularly the interview Jimmy yesterday for quite a while, and it was a really good facility to have, and we appreciated all the help we got. I promise I'll have you out in time to hear the leaders speak, but I'm going to hand around these cards. If you want to fill them in, you don't have to. And if anybody want to ask Jimmy any question on Patrick Kavanagh, I'm sure he'll do his best to answer it. We've done this before and it's been worked fairly good, from a 10-year-old girl in Castlecomer who asked some really interesting questions.
Ali.
The main one was, when did you first get interested in Patrick Kavanagh?
Good one, isn't it? And I think back that far. But my first interest was when I read his novel written in 1938, The Green Fool, which he later, of course, rubbished as a piece of fiction. But I then, of course, wrote Terry Flynn, and read Terry Flynn, and of course that was his kind of autobiography about his mother and his family and the whole lot. And from then I got interested and met people like Frank Marshall, and so fired me up another little bit. And I read